Hey everyone, what's happening? I'm Adam, this is Go2 Outdoors, and today I'm walking a dog. Got Libby with me, she's just down here enjoying the forest, but walking the dogs, or walking your dog on one of the public trails, you gotta make sure you pick up after yourself and don't do what this person did. Yeah, that right there, or there, yeah, that is exactly what it looks like. Somebody decided to take the effort to pick up their dog's mess and then just yeeted it into the nearest tree. And that's not cool. It's not cool at all. Switch hands here. Go through one of the rootier sections of this area of the trail and kind of get into what we're talking about today. So a good half of what's on the ground right here. Let's flip it around so you can see. A lot of these seeds that you can see, those are all persimmon seeds. Because again, remember, this is the tree from that persimmon video where I picked a bunch of the wild ones. Yeah, that video right there. And it looks like there was just a whole bunch of them that just fell and kind of wasted away to nothingness. And Libby is deciding to chase birds all of a sudden, so I apologize. If the camera jerks, it's because I have to keep her in check. Yeah, 10 pounds of absolute fury. She's definitely a hunter. She loves being out here just about as much as I do. She's got her eyes and ears perked up to absolutely any little shift of a leaf, any little flick of a wing, or anything like that. She's not 100% sure what to make of all the rocks, but I kind of want her to get used to that. Because she might come on a couple of my adventures, along with one or two of the other dogs, who knows. But we're just out here enjoying the day. Come on, Libby. Come on, Libby. She has to stop for everything. Okay. I've mentioned this in other videos. This is the Appalachian Trail. And people just don't seem to care. Surface crappers. It's bad enough if you leave the mess of your dogs, but when somebody is willfully leaving a mess of themselves, just throwing the trash around because they don't want to carry it. If you don't want to carry it, dig a cat hole. That simple. Carry a shovel. Handle your stuff. Some people, man. It just takes a handful of people to completely trash out an area. And yeah, this is a common day hiking area coming up to Bear's Den. But I just hate seeing that. It makes the whole thing less awesome, less beautiful. It's gross. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, yes, it's very true that you can bring your dogs on a large portion of the Appalachian Trail. You know, just with the exception of a few notable places like the Smokies, Shenandoah National Park. So they're frowned upon in most, if not all, national parks, unfortunately. There were a couple of folks that I knew, hate to say I don't remember the people's names, but I remember the dog. Dog named Vader. Adorable little mix lab mutt. They kept him at a boarding house while, for the week that they were hiking through the Smokies, which I guess it makes sense, but it's likely something that you definitely have to plan out ahead of time. I'm having to take paths that I don't normally take because I have to follow Libby around the trees. The footing is not quite as sure as I'm used to, so I am looking down quite a bit more. Thanks, Libby. But For day hikers, for section hikers, most likely you would not have to worry quite so much about having to, board a dog or something else like that. If you didn't want to bring your dog with you, of course, then you would. But if you're bringing your dog with you, there are a lot of people that I ran into that weren't very dog friendly, cat people. And at shelters, that became a bit of an issue. Saw a couple little confrontations, not hateful, not violent, but enough to sour the mood significantly at the shelter or at a campsite for a particular evening when somebody got up in arms because the person with the dog wanted to sleep with the dog in the shelter. I get it. I really do. The trail's out there for everybody. And you kind of got to take, for better or worse, everybody's feelings into account when you're doing something like this. Spin around. Thanks, Libby. Now, could those situations have been handled very differently? Yeah, absolutely. But they weren't. They always say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Just know going in that you're likely going to have some people that don't like dogs. It sucks, but it is what it is. I hear a squirrel moving up over there. Libby hears it too. So if you're going to have a dog with you, it's very likely you're going to have to sleep in your own tent most, if not all, nights. So just think about that. Now, the flip side of that coin is I did see one person hiking with a cat. Cat was in a full harness. Most of the time was on the top of the guy's pack. Didn't feel like walking on its own. And again, I forget the name of the dude who was walking with the cat, but the cat's name was Gregory. Not Greg, Gregory. A tortoiseshell. Tortoiseshell? Gray tabby? I don't know. One of the darker colored cats, unfortunately. Even after working at an animal hospital for 2 years. Not that great on cat breeds. But that cat was the most chill cat I've ever met. And it stayed in the shelter with us. Probably because the cat wasn't very likely to give any protection against bears, which some of the larger dogs would, I might add. So there's another reason why you might want to bring a dog along. Bears will smell your dog will smell the bears, and they will definitely keep their distance from each other. Get up the rest of this hill and I'll bring you back when I get to Bears Den. And Libby leads the way. There's a clean path over here, you silly goose. There you go. Sometimes I think I'll never understand what goes through that little head. Hey Libby, you like it up here? And we're at Bears Den. This is Libby's first time up here. Holly's been up here. Betty's been up here. But it's the first time for Libby. I love this place. Careful, Libby. Stay out of there. Let's sit down. Stay here, Libby. Okay, so none of us successfully gotten super sweaty and hot. Yeah, very doable, even when it's 43, 44 degrees. It's warm. Hold, please. You stay away from my microphone. God bless America. Okay, so we are officially here. Hot, sweaty. Well, she's not. She's just enjoying looking off into the beautiful distance that is here at Bears Den. Watching the cars go down Route 7 and looking off onto the horizon. One of my favorite places to visit. Obviously, as you know, I come up here all the time. What is that? There's a bird. There's a couple birds. Go run around. So, since she's hell-bent on knocking over my camera gear, and got a nice lovely scratch on my cage for my handle now, so that's fun. But don't buy gear if you don't plan on using it. If you have dogs around, your gear will get torn up a little bit more. And speaking of gear, it's probably not a bad idea to get your dog some gear of their own. Now, I know some of the larger dogs on rocks, like I'm sitting on right now, they will have paw issues, like they can get scuffed up and scratched up or sore paws. So something that you can use to bind up their paws at night, or even throw some Vaseline or something on them, which I've seen people do. Get your dog some of those little boots to wear on some of the rougher sections that are mostly rock. Looking at you, Southern Virginia. Definitely looking at you, Pennsylvania. And of course, on some of the larger dogs, it might not be a bad idea to have a backpack or something for them to wear so they could carry their own load. You're going to need to have their own water supply, or enough water to include for them as well, on top of what you have to carry for yourself. They're going to need to have their own food supply. You know, and most large dogs, even smaller dogs, if you're only carrying 3 or 4 days worth of food at a time, just make sure you have enough with you. Make sure you put that up with your bear bag every night. I know it's common sense, but common sense is not that common from what I've seen personally along day hikers, section hikers, and even through hikers that have an animal with them. Now, there are times when it gets colder. You might also want to have a dog with their own bed, their own smaller quilt, something that they can use to stay warm at night, because it gets cold up there. And if, you know, your dog is like little Libby here and doesn't have a whole lot of extra fur, then when it gets real cold at night, if you don't want to have your dog taking up space underneath your quilt or inside of your sleeping bag, get them something for their own. They won't need much. If you're not using your puffy or, you know, hoodie or something like that, bundle that up. Give them something, you know. My dogs are small enough they could easily sleep inside of my puffy if I brought them camping in winter or snowy temperatures and stuff like that. They don't need much, but a little something to keep them warm is better than nothing. And of course, they're going to want us to have something soft to lay on at the end of the day too. So they're your pet, they're your family. This should be a no-brainer. But I need to put on sunglasses. Okay, that's better. Now I can see again. Libby is just exploring all of these rocks here. So this is actually the first time I've been up to Bear's Den where there have been no people here. This does not happen very often. So that, of course, over there is the large granite quartz. Obviously, you can see all the quartz running through it here. Chunk of rock outcropping that's right here on the western slope of the Appalachian Trail area, right here on the Blue Ridge. And this in front of me dips out into the Shenandoah Valley. And I don't know if that's going to show up too well. It's very bright out here today. Let me see if I can switch something around. Hold, please. Well, I guess not. That's about as good as it's going to get, unfortunately. Darken it, maybe? With a hand. That's just making it worse. Well, that's about as good as I can make it. So that is the view out over the Shenandoah Valley. Now, out that direction is Winchester. Down there is, I want to say it's right about down there is Stevens City. That-ish area. And farther down that way, of course, that way, you get down to Front Royal and Shenandoah National Park and places that way down south. So that's south, that's north, west, obviously. Beautiful place here at Bear's Den. And I'm working on getting a filter. I will have a filter on the lens at some point, or one of my lenses, that I can use to really give this a good view for you. An ND filter or polarizer or something, so I can actually look out here, not completely wash out the image, and you'll see what this looks like. Obviously it's not super clear today. It's kind of overcast. Not 100% overcast, but kinda. But still a great place to come visit. And there's people walking, so. But we'll get back on topic. So, walking, really? What is it? You hear people? Libby's whining now. So hiking with your dog, it poses its own set of issues, but again, it also has its own set of rewards. You're going to have your best friend, one of your companions with you all the time. They're going to be able to cheer people up. I mean, seeing a dog at the end of the day, that cheered me up quicker than pretty much anything else, even if it wasn't my own dog. And a bonus is they keep bears away. So, hey, any little thing you can deal with or anything you can have to deal with the critter issues you might run into. Guaranteed these little monsters that I have would keep the mice out of the shelters as well. Oh, really? Really? It's okay. It's okay. She saw people, she wanted to go play. More's the pity. We can't play. We can't play with them, Libby. So if I do manage to bring her out on a couple hikes and you run into me, just know she is the friendliest little monster. Absolute demon. But she will keep the mice out of the shelters. She is a mouse hound. She will gobble them right up. It's gross, but it is what it is. She doesn't even think twice. She'll scarf up a mouse in a heartbeat. Isn't that right, Libby? But yeah, bringing one of your best friends out with you, there are definitely worse decisions you could make. What do you see? What is it? Definitely worse decisions you could make if you wanted to bring somebody with you to go hiking, backpacking. Even if it's on the Appalachian Trail, like I said, most places you can have a dog with you. There are some places you can't. But that should not deter you from wanting to bring your pet along with you. You know, there are people that go out solo that have pets, and it's a very, very hard decision. It's a tough commitment. Go on, you little monster. It's a tough commitment to decide if you want to bring your dog and if you don't want to bring your dog, if you don't feel comfortable bringing your dog. The only person that can make that decision is you, but the only person that can make an even harder decision of where to keep your dog or keep your pet is up to you as well. If you have a family member that doesn't mind caring for your animals, bonus. If you have to spend, the money to put your animal in a kennel for a very long time, that's going to add up quick. That's going to get very, very expensive. But if you have a friend that can look after a pet for you, friend or family is the best choice. Kennel, last-ditch effort. And if you can't find anything else, then yeah, make the decision to bring your dog along. Even if it's not your first choice, it's still probably the best in the long run for your pet. They're going to be happier. You're probably going to be happier, even if you have the stress that comes along with it. Stress, indeed. Look at that is the face of stress right there. Right there. Isn't that right, Libby? That said, you usually don't see too many small dogs out on the trail. You usually see big dogs. Now, toy breeds, I wouldn't recommend bringing them out. If you have a smaller working dog like a Jack Russell Terrier or any of the smaller sporting dogs, Cocker Spaniels, Brittany Spaniels, Coonhounds, things like that. Make sure that your pet is capable of keeping up with you and not getting beat up by the terrain and by the miles done every day. I wouldn't bring a dachshund out on the trail. I wouldn't bring a Chihuahua out on the trail. Now, don't take that as a challenge to go ahead and do it, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying keep the best interests of your pet in mind when you're making these decisions, because you'll both be happier in the long run. What's that down there? She zeroed in on something too. She has not left my lap in 5 minutes. Oh, one last piece of gear I forgot to mention. If you're going to be walking with your dog, chances are you're going to want to have some kind of harness like this instead of just having a collar. For two reasons. One, it gives you a handle to restrain your dog if you need to. For me, it's a better attachment point for her leash, Libby's leash, while she's out here in case she does slip. There's a lot of rocks here. There's a couple pitfalls right down there. That it's another layer of insurance in case your dog does slip. Slide off the trail, slide down into a ditch or something. It's easier to get them out pulling on a harness than it is pulling on a collar that's around their neck. That's not a good idea. No, it's not. She knows. She knows I've had to save her. Even today, I've had to grab her by the harness and pull her up. But that's what we do to deal with our pets on the trail. These little monsters. So that's all we've got for you today. Like I always say, thanks again for watching. Make sure you find a reason to smile today, even if it's just a dog. And we'll catch you in the next one.